I'm Dawn from the blog parkinsonsandus.com. Welcome. You know, here on the Cape it is cranberry season and they are harvesting cranberries almost every weekend. So last weekend I picked up several bags of cranberries, and there are a lot of things you can do with fresh cranberries. But I thought the first thing I would show you is how I dehydrate fresh cranberries in my dehydrator. And I also have a sugar-free cranberry dried recipe I would love to show you today. So let's get started. So the first thing before you do anything is you want to make sure all your equipment is very clean. So I cleaned all the racks with soap and water, and I cleaned the trays and just made sure everything was proper. So there are several different sheets you can use in your dehydrator. When I first bought the dehydrator, it came with these sheets here. And these work wonderful for certain things, but for other things they do not, because they have holes in them. And so if you're working with like a wet dough, or like if you want to dry fruit and stuff like that, sometimes this can get a little messy. So, but for the longest time I used these only. But then I actually purchased these silicone sheets, and I really love them. These you can use for everything and anything. So I washed these today, and I just made sure that everything is nice and clean, and they fit perfectly in these trays. So that's the first thing you want to do, is you just want to prepare your trays, make sure that everything is clean and ready to go. Okay, so I have the trays. I have some with these sheets. I'm not going to make that many dried cranberries, so this actually has, this dehydrator actually has 9 trays. I'm not going to use that many today, so we'll just probably use the top few layers, but I made extra just in case. And I'll put a link in the description below as to what type of dehydrator I have, as well as the type of silicone sheets I'm using today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rinse 12 ounces of fresh cranberries in cold, fresh water. Now while you're rinsing, you will see some little stems. Just feel free to pick off those stems and just get the cranberries nice and fresh and clean. And once the cranberries have been cleaned, you're going to take a large pot and fill it with about 6 to 8 cups of filtered water. You're going to let that water come to a gentle boil, and after it's come to a boil, you're going to add a half a cup of fresh orange juice. And once you've added the orange juice, just gently stir it all together, and then you're going to turn off the heat and take the pot of water off the stove. You're then going to add your fresh cranberries to the water and orange juice mixture and just stir gently. You're going to leave the cranberries uncovered for about 10 minutes just to lightly steam and soften. And then you're going to strain the cranberries, drain the water, and rinse the cranberries in cold, fresh water. Okay, so I'm done steaming the cranberries. I let them just kind of sit in that hot water. I let the water come to a boil, and then I just let the cranberries kind of sit in there and steam up for about 10 minutes. And then I drained them, and so now we're just going to add the other ingredients and put them in the dehydrator. So you just kind of want to pick around and make sure there aren't any little stems. You'll always find a few, but just kind of do the best you can. And then I doubled this recipe, so I'm going to add 1 cup of monk fruit, but in a single recipe it's only a half a cup of monk fruit. So let's measure this out. We'll do 1 cup. And this recipe does not have to be super exact. There's 1 cup. And then we're going to add just a little splash of avocado oil. I try to use as little oil as possible, but it's always nice to use a little bit so that the monk fruit kind of adheres to the cranberries. Normally I would do about 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon, but with a double batch I'll probably do about 1 teaspoon. And then you just want to gently stir this up. You want to be very careful not to break up the cranberries. So this is a sugar-free recipe because I am using the monk fruit. Monk fruit is a plant-based sweetener, and it does not spike your blood sugar like regular white sugar or cane sugar does. So often I will use monk fruit in my baking recipes. Okay, so now it's gently stirred up. So now I'm just going to put them on the dehydrator sheets, and we will put it in the dehydrator. It's very simple. This is a nice way to start working with your cranberries. It's always nice to kind of have the dried cranberries in your pantry. You can use them for so many things. You can put them in your oatmeal for breakfast. You can put them in your salads. You can put them in smoothies. You can do all sorts of things, or you can just snack on them. They're very delicious when they're dried, and with this monk fruit it really helps get the tartness out and makes it a little sweet. Okay, so now we're just going to put them on the dehydrator sheets. You just want to spread them out. Again, being very gentle with them. Because I have so many dehydrator sheets, I'm not going to stock each one really full. See, there's a smashed one. I'm going to get rid of that one. But I'll use just more dehydrator sheets versus really stocking this one up full. But if you don't have the 9-rack, if you have a smaller one, it's perfectly fine to just kind of fill this up. You just kind of spread them out. That is it. And then we put this in. Be very careful. Okay, there's one. This will probably take about 3 or 4. Again, just be careful when you spread things out. So you're going to let these sit in the dehydrator for about 10 to 12 hours. So once I get these in, we'll turn on the dehydrator and I will come back and show you what it looks like 12 hours later. Okay, and because I'm not using the whole racks, I'm going to take these out just to give those a little more air. I actually think I'm going to put this one down. There, just to give them a little more air. Okay, so we got this all cleaned up. And as you can see, I have the trays. I have 4 trays. I took out the other trays just for space, just so the air can kind of really get to the cranberries. You don't actually have to, but I do. And then we just put on the top. It's very easy. And up here at the top, there's different settings. For fruit, you want to put it at about 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that'll take about 10 to 12 hours, but if you want to do more of a raw food, like a living food, something that isn't heated up so high, then I would recommend going to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. But you will have to then dehydrate them longer. So I know some people like to do a raw food kind of diet or a way of eating. So if you want to do it that way, then you got to drop down your temperature to no higher than 105. 105 is actually probably about perfect. And then you will have to dehydrate for longer. 135 is about 10 to 12 hours. 105 will probably be about 14, 15, maybe 16 hours. So you'll just have to kind of test and see. But for me, I'm going to put it at 135. And we're going to plug this in. And that is all there's to it. This dehydrator actually has a timer, so I can time it for 10 to 12 hours, which I think I will do. We will put it at 12 hours for now. And then it'll shut off, it'll ding, I'll check it, I'll see if they are dry, and if not, I'll just put on a little more time. But I think they will be dry in 12 hours. So I will be back after these are done, and I will show you what they look like. Okay, so it is the next day, and I let the cranberries dry for about 16 hours. Normally you can let them dry between 12 and 14 hours, but if you do it a little bit longer, it's not a big deal. And I just set the timer and it dried overnight, and then it automatically stopped this morning. So roughly it ended up being about 16 hours. So let's go check it out. The house did smell very good this morning when I woke up. All right, so here they are. Ooh. Put them in this bowl. And it's okay if the sugar comes off. You'll still have the sweetness. Not all the sugar will come off, or the monk fruit, I should say. It's perfectly okay. The nice thing about these is that when you put them in like your oatmeal or your salad, it will give it automatically a little touch of sweetness, which is really nice. Okay. We're going to do all of these. Okay. We have quite a few cranberries, dried cranberries. All right, so now we have them off the tray, and I'm just going to transfer them into a mason jar just for storage. So when you're storing these, you want to make sure you have a tightly sealed container, be it a mason jar or Tupperware, something that will have a nice tight seal to preserve the freshness. And again, it's okay if that sugar comes off, because you'll still have the sweetness, some of the sweetness, and all of the monk fruit will not come off. You're fine. And these will last in your pantry a good few weeks. I'd say probably up to like a month. As long as they're stored in a tightly sealed container. All right, I'm going to get another container. It's pretty. A get just a smaller container. We don't have too many left. And there you have it. Sugar-free dried cranberries. Ooh, they're pretty. I'm gonna come up with all sorts of ways to use these. So I hope you like this video, and I hope you will give making sugar-free fresh cranberries dried a try. Very easy to make. The dehydrator actually does all the work. So these will be a lovely addition for the holiday season. Like I said, great to put on a lot of different things like your oatmeal and salads and smoothies, and even just as a snack. And I will put a link down in the description below for the full recipe. And if you did like this video, I would love it if you give it a thumbs up or hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be part of the Parkinson's and Us community, I would love that too. It is a great supportive community filled with lots of love and support, where I provide nourishing recipes, joyful living tips, and support for care partners everywhere. So until next time, bye for now.